Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy Presents our MLB DFS pitcher picks for Saturday, April 15th, 2017. I'm your host, Nick Valinchek, better known as Nick from CWE on all of your favorite daily fantasy sites, and I'm here to break down my favorite pitchers on a very short and unappealing slate. When I started my research last night, it took me all of maybe 2.5 minutes to realize that I was not going to be playing this slate whatsoever. Have a lot of stuff going on personally right now. Also, it's always good to just take a night off to just decompress and try to figure out what you're not doing right, and that's where I'm at. I have no issues telling you that while the picks I make in these videos may end up working out, and they've been pretty solid for the most part, for whatever reason, in terms of lineup construction, I am not getting it done right now. I have been horribly unsuccessful on a whole with MLB DFS, and I need to just regroup and figure out what in the hell is going on right now. I'm sure that there's many people out there that can relate. It becomes very irritating when you do hours of research. As I've said before, everything tells you, hey, this is where it's at. This is the game you need to go to. And last night being a perfect example, all my research led to high ownership of Cincinnati, Seattle, and Minnesota, and you end up with 6 runs between those 3 teams, and it just doesn't end up covering what you need it to cover, especially when other teams, other players in good positions came through that had decent ownership, and it's just not been a great year for me in baseball. I'm not going to sit here and whine and cry about it. I'm just going to get better. I had the same issue with basketball in 2015, and you know what? You don't sit and whine and cry. You figure out where the problem is, you fix the problem, and you move on from there. Back to this slate of games, like I said, really just unappealing. I don't have my statistics in front of me. I didn't bring my laptop into the office today. We just moved very clearly. We're no longer against the window doing this. But I do know that every guy that was in a good, every guy that seemed like they were in a good situation had something wrong with their matchup, whether it be, the team didn't hit well against right-handers, but they also didn't strike out well at all. So I'm going to start things off with Jacob deGrom. He's looked decent, at least. Not in love with the play. Miami, not a team to pick on. I don't care what everybody says. In fact, I'm probably preemptively, sooner than I really should, going to be jumping my stats over to 2017 because the way that things read for 2016 are just illogical at this point when it sets offenses like the Marlins so low. Yeah, anyway, deGrom, good pitcher. When you look at the rest of the names of the pitchers, it's not too difficult to figure out. deGrom should be the guy that screws you the least. Also the highest priced. Don't love the matchup. He's not at home. Miami Marlins doing some damage. It doesn't need to be anything more than not striking out a lot and scoring 2 runs to just blow up a game, especially when they're being a little more patient at the plate. They're not. They're coming through with hits and walks. That hurts, especially on DraftKings, but deGrom is a guy I trust most. deGrom is a guy that I hate least. Let's just start that. Looking down at the rest of the pitching options, I'm not touching Kenta Maeda. He just does not exhibit anything that's working right now. Matt Shoemaker, a guy that I just don't have faith in at this point in time. Much prefer him at home. Royals, a team I don't like to pick on. Clayton Richard, don't care what he did against, I think, the Rockies last time. Not playing him against the Braves. R.A. Dickey, I do not like using guys against the Padres. Tehran was kind of an exception yesterday. Adam Conley, not interested. Andrew Cashner, not interested. Nate Carnes, not interested. Patrick Corbin, not interested. Actually, I'm going to go one back. I'm going to say that Andrew Cashner, someone I am interested in. Cashner, well, let me jump back to Paxton. Paxton was the only other guy I didn't mention. He was kind of like a trendy, hey, this guy's going to be a really good fantasy play this year. let's draft him earlier than we should in our season-long leagues, which translates into DFS. That's like the opposite of the DFS mentality. So the DFS mentality has been, well, he's a guy who was good, but you can definitely attack him. Well, through 2 games, that ends up being about the biggest pile of crap that I've ever heard. 2 games, 46 fantasy points on average on FanDuel. He's put together a 37 and a 55 point performance. I think he was one of the guys on the slate with the highest strikeout numbers. Texas, a good lineup, has a lot of depth to it, but it has some guys who are not going to be patient enough. And I think that the guys who are more patient are hitting from the left side of the plate. Save Elvis Andrews. I just think that Paxton might be a guy that I end up having more exposure to if I play than Jacob deGrom. I just don't love where deGrom's at. Finally, Andrew Cashner, and he's priced cheap, at least on FanDuel. I don't know where he's at on DraftKings. I don't have it open. Was the quote-unquote ace or one of the top pitchers for the Padres before an injury last year. This is his first start, I believe, since that time. And I might be like a year behind. He might have got hurt in... Yeah, he got hurt in 2015. Anyway... Of all the guys, if I'm dropping down to play, I'm a guy that played Seattle yesterday. I'm just really not interested in trying to use those guys. They're clearly not right at the plate. The only reason they had a run was that Seager hits lefties pretty decently. He's absolutely torn apart Martin Perez throughout his career. Nelson Cruz mashed a home run. Other than that, this has not looked like a very great offense. It's a hit-or-miss type situation. With it being a pitcher's park, I don't think it's the worst idea. If I'm going to play this slate, which I am telling you right now, I don't think I'm going that route. I'm looking at possibly stacking Paxton and Cashner and hoping that there's no offense in the game like I think there might not be. But it's an ugly slate. Again, my biggest recommendation for you is just to not play and just try to find something else to do, like shave. That could be something that you can do. I can definitely need it right now. Anyway, top 3 pitching options in tournaments: Jacob deGrom, James Paxton, Andrew Cashner. Make sure to subscribe to our, to our YouTube channel below. Head over to researchfantasy.com. Sign up for our MLB mailing list. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Research and Win. And join us again tomorrow.